Here and this early and this video is the part of the negative static and dynamic values for world depth charts. You say in your comments that why negative values of static and dynamic on the world depth charts are displaying. So I will explain all the logic and the reason behind it. So first of all, as you remember that we updated our well depth logic. We included the values between 42 and 2 to 5 for ORPs in our static and dynamic calculations. So previously when there is a check in the front end that we just display the positive static and dynamic values on the charts. Here as you see that atom dot static is greater than or equal to 0. So but there are a lot of values between these date ranges like 42 and 2 to 5 where the static and dynamic calculations is lower less than 0. So for example for SN 300 we have the low calibration and the high calibration value is 0 and 20, and we have the ORP value on position 1 is 80 and ORP value on position 2 is 2 to 1 on 330, which is actually 329. So when we put these values in our ORP formula and we get the dynamic reading is 4.11. When we subtract the dynamic reading uh, from sensor depth, which is 9, against the SN Chalson test project, so it will give us 489. So for ORP position 2 we calculate the static value. So we have the ORP value is 2 to 1, and we have high calibration is 20 and low calibration is 0, and all other like in the version specific. So this is the formula which we are using for the dynamic and static reading calculations. We we have max calibration is 20, minimum calibration is 0. Then we divide it by 20 minus 4. Dimensionless number is actually the ORP value, which is uh, 2 to 1 for ORP position 2, and reference voltage is 3.5 because this is the version 2. Shunt resistance is 150, and when we put all the values in this formula, and after that we get the static reading is 20.11. So we have the sensor depth is 9 and we have the static reading is 20. So when we subtract the sensor depth when we subtract the static reading from the sensor depth, we get the negative values. So that's why you will see the negative values on the charts. So if you don't want to see that the negative values on the charts, we must implement the check again on the front end, that it just display the positive values on the charts. But keep one thing in your mind, right? If we do that, we miss all the negative values, and maybe there are some values where like between the range which we specify 42 and 2 to 5 which need the static and dynamic readings on the charts. But when we calculate the readings, it give us the negative values, and because it is a negative value, then it will not display on the charts. As you remember that we have some issues related to the secondary school, SC secondary school, that we have the ORP values of 42, and we want to display those values on the charts. But in that scenario, if the value is negative, then it will not show up on the map charts. So this is all the logic and behind the static and dynamic calculations of the well depth charts. So for now I implement the check again, and you can verify it on your site and give your feedback on it. Is there any way to or to plot the negative values, or we just hide the negative values from the charts. So I'm waiting for your feedback then. So thank you.